everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This waiting game is just driving me nuts. And I really wanted to make this video because if you're in the same boat as we are, if you're in the same situation or in a similar situation, I want you to know that whatever you're feeling, um, it's normal. It's not easy. In fact, it's really hard, but it is normal. And I wanted to take this time to just share tips to really help you stay sane, right? Because there's a lot of things that happens when you are in this immigration journey. And if you're ready, let's just get started. And I want to go back to the beginning. And this is going to be very helpful for us as we go into our journey. And that is the reality of organizing all those papers, all those documents. It was, to be specific, organizing those documents needed for your immigration journey. And that is, from the start of the journey, that is getting your work permit, your visas, getting you to go to the new place. So in our case, to Canada. But also, you will also need the same documents when you apply for a renewal of your permit, when you apply for permanent residency, and eventually for your citizenship. So it's very important that from the start we organize it properly. We gather all the information that we need. And, for us personally, this was really hard because, well, it was somewhat hard because I think the pandemic made it hard in some ways, but also made it easy in other ways. And why do I say that? Because of the pandemic, a lot of these organizations, schools, and companies that I studied in and worked for have started to become more open with accepting and processing requests online, which is great. But there are still, of course, those, when we did this back in the pandemic, there were some organizations that we still had to do this manually. We still had to physically go there. And the biggest challenge for us, very vivid in my mind, was getting Elaine's college, diplomas and transcript of records. Because unfortunately, during the pandemic, her school announced that they would be closing down permanently. So we had to rush and make our requests and have that processed, right? So, tip for you, if you haven't gotten them already, if you don't have copies, you don't know where your copies are, get them now because you never know what's going to happen to those schools, those companies in the future. I've had a couple of companies that I used to work with closed down already. So there's no way I could get those paperworks. Thank goodness I kept physical copies of those papers. Now, what I really want to talk about is getting organized with the documents, getting hyper organized with the documents. And this, by organize, I meant both digital and physical organization. I took care of the digital for us. I scanned everything. I put them in separate Google Drives. I suggest you do that. Put it online so that it will have automatic backups. Don't put it on your local machine because if that dies down, good luck to you. Elaine, on the other hand, was the one who took care of the physical organization. And my goodness, I can't I can't do that. I can't do what she did. Because what she did was she had this wonderful book binder, everything sorted, everything organized, and it made it so easy for us when we were at the immigration, as we were leaving the country. She could easily pull up documents and knew exactly where they were. And even now, when we applied for our permanent residency, everything was in that binder, while I also had the digital copies. So if you have any organization tips, if you've also been in this journey, please put it up in the comments so that others can learn. But that's the tip for me. The first tip for me is really organize all your documents, not just for what you need right now, but in preparation for the rest of the steps in this process, because it's a long process to citizenship. All right. And now, not as soon, but every time you submit something, there goes into the next challenge with is that feeling of limbo. And this is the waiting game. This is where it gets. I'd like to think this is one of the hardest things that you go through because you have to prepare yourself mentally for this wait. It's just not easy. There's a tendency to want to check the progress daily. I did that for a while. I'd go into the website, check how did I get AOR, an acknowledgement of receipt. Did I get the invitation to do the biometrics? So that it just takes over your life because you wanna get updates, even if you know that you're gonna get an email anyway. It just mentally that was draining. So here for me, my tip is, and this is so much easier said than done. My tip is to focus on things that you can control. Again, easier said than done. And you can do this also by making sure that you are intentional in enjoying the time with family and friends and really actively seeking, I don't want to call it distractions, but seeking to live life fully. And that's by looking at hobbies, looking at social activities, and just enjoy the time. You've already done what you can with all those papers. You've submitted those requirements. If you focus too much of that, then that kind of takes away the rest of the life that you could be enjoying. In fact, if I'm going to be very blunt, right? Worst case scenario is they deny your application. Well, you just spent the last year or so waiting for that denial or that rejection. And now what? Nothing. You got nothing out of it. At least if you were rejected but you live life to the fullest, at least you've enjoyed that time. Right? Sounds really bad, but again, I always say, hope for the best, expect the worst. So if the worst gonna happen, at least you're enjoying life. I don't know if a lot of you would like that advice, but I would put it that way. Just enjoy the time. Make sure you distract yourself with a good time, if that makes sense. And I guess the last few tips that I have for you, and this is just to remind you that in this waiting game, we have to remember that we are not alone. So we have to be relying on reliable sources out there and also leaning on our community. There's so much information out there. That's the good and the bad of the society that we live in right now. I would say be very careful about scams and misinformation. These scammers will use your fear of the unknown of what's going to happen to take advantage of you. They'll offer you services and stuff because they know you're scared and they know you'll do anything to get through this process. So be careful about that. Whatever you get, what information you get, make sure they're coming from reliable sources. Okay. It would be great. Now, if you have the means, it would be great to get advice from lawyers and consultants, registered consultants. In Canada, they have what they call registered Canadian immigration consultant, RCIC. So make sure if you're going to pay somebody, make sure they are registered, make sure they are certified, and you get the best advice. Okay, and now leveraging on community. I've talked about building friendships. A lot of times it's great to have friends who are in the same boat as you are because you can share these stories. You can use the value of just having that shared experience. In fact, if one of the tips that I shared last week was to get through these online Facebook groups, very helpful. They're great because they give you an idea of what other people are going through, how they're able to get through things. But I go back to the other tip. Whatever you get from these Facebook groups, still check the resources, cross-reference their resources or their sources, make sure that it's legit. Don't take anything at face value. Now, just a warning, I suppose, when you join these Facebook groups or even when you meet people who are in the same boat. Be careful about comparing yourselves to them. because that can lead you in a rabbit hole. Don't compare your journey to their journey. And I say that from experience because we know people who came here at the same time, maybe even after we came here, and they've got their PRs. Should I, should I feel bad? No, I should be happy for them, right? But it's okay to feel bad at first. Like, oh my God, oh no, what's going to happen to me? That's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay? It's okay to feel that way, but don't stay. Don't keep that feeling. Understand that we all have our journeys. They have their different, what do you call this, experiences. They bring something different to the table maybe, and you have your own journey. So again, leverage those communities, but just be careful, and I guess don't let it make you feel down. Okay? So I hope those practical tips will help you in this chase for the paper, especially in the waiting game. So like I said, be hyper organized with the documents. Make sure they are future proof, not just for what you need right now, but what you will be needing in the rest of your immigration journey. Next, take care of your mental health. This waiting game will drive you and can drive you insane. Find ways to distract yourself with the good things by enjoying life to the fullest. Of course, last two, make sure you always get reliable information from reliable sources. And remember that you're not alone. Leverage these communities that can help you in your journey. And the last thing I want to say is we need to find that balance that works for you in being proactive, but at the same time, trusting the process. You want to do as much as you can that you can control. At the same time, you just have to trust and let go so that you can continue to live your life. Okay. If anything has been useful for you or resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments so that others can also listen or learn from you. If you think others can find some comfort in what I've talked about and can relate to this insane waiting game, please share this with them and let them know that they're not alone. And of course, if you really like it, please do like, share this, or share this, and subscribe to the Immigration Chronicles on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Would love to get those numbers up so I can reach out to more people who might be in the same journey. So, thanks again for tuning in, and remember, keep finding that balance that works for you. See you.